Coming in.
Hi. I am still, I think I just figured out the code to this painting. Every painting's got its own personality and code, and I'm doing what I wanted to avoid since the beginning. Sorry, it's hard to do this and talk. I wanted to keep it more textury and palette knifey and painting wet into wet, and I did that, but I still couldn't get the feeling of grass. I've been over this, it's got to be like 10 times. This painting is so thick, especially down here. There's like 5 paintings underneath this. I've just tried different technique after different technique, palette knife, tried this huge brush painting wet into wet, and I just couldn't get it to work. But the bright side is nothing gets wasted, because all this texture that built up from all the layers, now I'm able to put my palette knife in and kind of drag it over it, and it hits the highlights of the paint. So I'm getting a real nice texture that I couldn't get any other way.
Robin Ryan is watching.
Oh, Robin. Hey, Robin. Robin has one of my crow pieces, which I just rediscovered this week. I love that painting, Robin. I'm going to turn it into a limited edition print. That's how much I love it.
Vanya is watching too.
Who?
Vanya.
Vanya. Hi, Vanya. Name sounds familiar.
Robin loves it. Nothing wasted.
So, as I said, I was trying to avoid going in here and painting in individual grass blades, but you know what? So what? If that's what needs to be done. I couldn't get the feeling of grass with just a palette knife and large brushes. So, but I have the foundation of the texture underneath. So just putting some grass on top is making it feel really nice and thick. So, of course, I'm not going to paint blades of grass over the entire thing. In fact, I'm probably not going to paint any more blades of grass from this point up, but just enough to give it that feeling of, wispy grass.
Vanya says stunning.
Oh, thank you.
So how many hours have you dedicated to this already, babe?
Oof, this was a tough one. So far, I'd say I'm about 30 hours in, and I'm about...
And how many sleeps? How many sleepless nights?
Too many. I'm probably about 50 or 60% of the way done. These trees, they need to be pushed back, and what I mean by that is their value is too dark. So they're coming forward, more forward than the grass. So I gotta reduce the values in that. So if this was let's call this a 9, the darkest part in the tree. I'm going to push that back to maybe, a 5, which is probably, as dark as that. So these really need to go back, because they're going to take attention away from the house, which is the focal point.
Margie joined, Margie Kronbach, and she says, awesome.
Oh, thanks, Margie. So the transitions is what's really been difficult, because we have a lot of contrast up here and detail, and the grass is thicker here than it is here. So the real challenge was, I want to show depth, but I don't want this section or this whole foreground to compete with the house. So and really, it's a real balancing act here.
Wow.
Which is what's coming in handy with the brush, is I'm able to kind of blend these levels. It's like 3 levels. It's like really detailed, a little less detailed, much less detailed, and then boom, the house.
Well, I mean, look at the difference between this over here. Wow, it's almost looks like every little blade, and then this side, which is the
that's where I've yet to do, but
yeah.
But this is what. So I kind of figured out the code to the painting over here. So once I figured out this side, I'm like, okay, after many hours and failed techniques, it all gets used, like I said earlier. So now I can take this knife, and now I know what I did over there. and kind of go into it here. Now what I'm doing here is just kind of putting the bold feeling of grass over here. No, it doesn't look like grass, I know that, but it will feel more like grass once I start putting the individual strokes over it with this.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what happened here. Robin says you create challenging puzzles for yourself.
Yes,
wow.
Exactly. And Robin knows that she's a brilliant artist herself. It is. That's a great way to say it. I just had an interview with Tina Garrett. Yes, I'm name dropping. She is a brilliant, famous artist, and I was honored to be on her broadcast. And I said a painting is like an argument with a really good friend. 90% of the time we're arguing, trying to prove each other's points. And then the last 10% we kind of land on common ground. If you hear that moaning, that's my giant dog in the corner who doesn't start doing that till we're on film. So I definitely haven't hit the 10% we've made up part in this relationship with my painting. But we're coming to terms with each other. We're starting to understand each other a little better. So what I'm going to do now, just to show you how I've been going about this, I'm going to put the dark ones in first. I'm going to do this real quick. Maybe it might be a little sloppy. So I'm going to put the darker blades of grass in first because they are darker and covered by the lighter ones. So I'm going to put these in, especially down below. It's a lot darker down here. So I'm going to put these in. It's hard to see them because it's like a value of 8 against a 7 or a 6 that's behind it. But like I said, I'm just trying to get it to feel like grass at this point. If that's what this is, I don't even know if this is grass. It might be like wheat or something, whatever it is. And then I'm going to come on top with the lighter strokes like over there. In fact, you know what? I'll do it prematurely just so you can see what I'm talking about.
Robin said she loved that analogy about the Friends conversation.
I said in that interview, Robin, I said, when I give artist talks and I say, even though I'm an artist and a painter, I don't love painting. I like having painted. I like when I'm finished with a painting. And so now you can see how it makes a little more sense when I come over it with the lighter, as the ones behind them are the ones covered by the light. So it makes more sense to put these lighter ones in. Again, sometimes, you know, what you were trying to avoid from the beginning was the answer all along. Almost sounds like one of those cheesy movies. Oh, I loved him all my life and he was right there the whole time. This was the answer the whole time. And I was trying to avoid it because this painting is so huge. All I kept thinking in my head was, whatever you do, don't go into this painting every grade of black. Great
Blade.
One more time. Blade of grass. And I'm still not doing that, but I overextended myself with that line of thinking, wow, this is coming out nice. It's such a crappy little brush too. This brush is like $3. It's a Master's Touch brush from Hobby Lobby. I never use it, and I was like, well, I need to load up a lot of paint and get a fairly sharp edge. Let me try this. And so this is a liner brush, script liner, and it is perfect because it can hold a real lot of paint, and I can go, look at this, how far I can go with this. Meow. That is beautiful. And it's not, since I put all that texture down, it's not consistent. And that's perfect because I don't want this to look super tight and consistent. And when it's hitting the other bumps in the paint, you know, it's giving me fat, then skinny, then lifting up. Just like these blades of grass, you're not going to see it uninterrupted when you're looking at it in real life. You're going to see other things over it and covering it. And this is kind of therapeutic too. This is nice. It helps me to get into the scene. Really feeling it. Almost forgot I was on video. Hope I didn't say anything dumb while I was doing this.
Robin says she's going to quote you. I'm going to quote you.
Which part?
What we've been doing, well, what we've been avoiding all
Oh.
along is the answer. Wisdom.
Yeah. I like when artists join these calls because they pretty much know exactly how I feel and what I'm trying to say. There's so many analogies. It's like a chess game with yourself. And, you know, if you don't have a solid foundation before you start, you know, you can't expect the painting to go well. And as I said also in that interview, I always use my paintings as opportunities to teach my son about, you know, foundation and planning. And, you know, without a strong foundation, you can't go forward. So I'm doing this a little, like I said, prematurely, but I got so into the zone. I should probably go back into my darks. And if anyone has any questions or comments, just drop them down below. I love answering them. I answer them all myself. I hope this is as therapeutic to watch as it is for me to do this. You know, I always think there's like some magic technique that is just going to get me through this faster. I feel like other artists, when I watch their demos, are just blowing through their paintings and doing it so well. And that is not me. My paintings are, I think I'm a very slow painter. And sometimes that can get a little frustrating, especially when I'm excited about a piece and I want to know what it's going to look like when I'm finished. And when that piece is out of control, which this piece has been the majority of the process, I want to get to a safe place in it so I can relax a little bit. And now that I have kind of cracked the code to this painting, I can relax.
Robin has a question. Are you working this scale most of the time now?
Oh no, this was I found this piece online through a friend, Jean Fain. We were on this, or I was on this group called Wyeth Inspired, and I've been just following her photography. And finally, I said to her, "Would you mind if I used one of your photos for reference?" And she said, "No, it'd be my pleasure." So I was so taken back by this that I just wanted to go large. I just sold a really, really big painting. It was super successful commercially. It was got an award from the Arc Salon this year. So it was huge. And I was like, you know what? You never worked this big. Do another huge one. This really captivated me, this image. So I think this would really, it needs to be big. So that was the long answer to your question, Robin. No, I'm not always going to be working this big. But I wanted to for this image. It can just really fall into this scene.
Vanya said absolutely, and I think that was referencing the therapeutic.
Okay, so just to show you guys what else I might be doing here. So I'm putting this in, and I don't want it to get too neat looking. So, you know, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get some texture. Now that's too heavy. I get that. But I can come in later and come over it with a lighter value. But I want to keep this. Oh, that was a good one. I want to keep this alive with texture. A lot of people, and I know it's because they're looking at my work on a phone, like when you see it on Facebook, a lot of people say my work looks like a photo. And I'm definitely not going for that. I'd like to leave room for the viewer to, fill in the blanks. And I feel like if my work gets too tight, people are like, wow, that's great. It looks like a photo. But sometimes it lacks an emotional invitation when it gets too tight. So this keeps it alive. This keeps it fresh and dynamic too. So let's see. Let's try another value. Scoot over here. Oh, and I pre-mix. I've learned do a scan of my paints, honey. I just learned this maybe 2 years ago to pre-mix all my colors prior to the painting, more than I need. Like when you're making a fire, when you're camping, you always collect more wood than you need. This has changed my life as an artist. I used to be scrambling to remix colors while I'm painting, and with acrylic, it's almost impossible to match. So when you have something, scan up to that sky, honey. When you have something like smooth and a gradation like that, there's no way I can match any of these colors. And yes, I mixed my values while I was painting, but at least I have a hope of fixing a mistake. Let's say I splashed some paint up into the sky by accident. I have the 3 colors I used or the 3 values I used in that sky, and I'll be able to fix a mistake. If I didn't have the colors pre-mixed, I'd have to paint the whole sky over again. That's just the nature of acrylic.
Well, Robin loves seeing the different tools you use.
Yeah, this is like the Papa Bear of palette knives. This is what I'm usually using. And this, my goodness, this thing, you could paint a house with this. I've never used, maybe once a year I'll use a brush this big. But the more difficult the painting, it's the payoff seems to be greater. And like a friend, the relationship seems to be tighter. Especially if you haven't seen the painting for a while. Like sometimes, after a painting is sold, and sometimes I'll go to a collector's house for dinner or something, and I'll see a painting that I haven't seen, in quite some time. And it's like seeing an old friend and, oh, remember that argument we got into years ago? It's good. They're all my children, all my friends, and some friends you're closer with than others, but they're all special to me. And wow, this is coming out. This is going faster than I anticipated.
Bonnie has a question. Do you varnish your paintings or leave them raw?
That's a great question. I used to. I'd say I didn't start varnishing my paintings, and a real artist who's listening to this might think I'm crazy, but not till about 5 years ago. I would just paint them and let them go, and that would be the end of it. And I like the flatness to my paintings, and flat, with the finish. Because a lot of times you got to bob and weave to avoid the glare, and I used to varnish with a flat varnish. Oh my goodness, that's my dog.
I think he's jealous because when you talk to me, he gets jealous.
So now I'm using a satin finish. So I don't want it to be too much glare. This is water to keep my, I use this mister to keep my acrylic paints from drying. So I do varnish now with a satin finish. I just sold a painting this week, and it was all right, you know what? I'm gonna have to wrap this up soon. It had a matte finish on it, and I was tempted to put a satin finish on it because it makes the darks a little more darker, and it kind of just, you see these videos of people putting varnish on their paintings, and it almost like brings the painting to life. So I don't want to cheat myself out of the richness of the values by not putting something with a little bit of a sheen, because the more sheen, the more rich the darks are. All right, I think I'm going to wrap it up because my dog either has to go to the bathroom or he just wants to bother me and get me to wrap this up so we can all go to sleep. Thanks for joining me, and I will see you soon. Take care. Bye now.